What's up guys, more spoilers have been coming out and we saw a couple more of the new mechanics that are going to be introduced, and I'm actually really excited for the first change. So additions are going to finally be changed, and it's only going to apply for the ones that are being released from this point on. The old additions will still work the same way they do, so if there's like addition resonator or addition field, addition resonator will still like go to the graveyard if the resonator is destroyed, and so on and so forth. So but starting from the new set, any addition that comes out will just say addition. It won't specify. I'm sure in parentheses it might have like a category in terms of like ancient magic or anything like that. We might see some of those, but there's no longer going to be like addition field, addition resonator, or anything like that. It's just going to be an addition, and the ones that you would normally see kind of being referred to as addition resonators are now instead going to have the effect Bestow. And so Bestow is going to be like you pay a cost and you tap the card in order to like equip it onto the creature that you're targeting. The only difference is if the creature is destroyed, the addition still stays on the field, so that from this point on, if you summon another creature, you can pay the Bestow cost again and just equip it to the new creature. That way it's not so bad to use any of these kind of equip cards, because normally this goes for most games, but it's always been kind of a hindrance to use equip cards or anything that's kind of like an addition resonator, because essentially like you go out of your way to put a card on another card. If that one card is now destroyed, you lose the other card too, so your opponent only has to worry about destroying one of them, and then you lose two cards. So it's always been kind of like a risk and reward kind of feeling, only in most cases like the reward has never been that good anyway. There's just never really been a point to use a lot of additions, and so the only exception was stuff like Necromancy of the Undead Lord, and it's why it was so popular for so long, because when you summon the monster and it equips onto it, it's kind of like it's still recurring, and so it didn't feel as though you were losing two cards, because every time you summon something you still got that back. So I'm really excited with this change, because I've said in a really old video, I don't remember which one it was, but as someone who makes like a lot of decks and I'm always deck building, I think it's really important to be able to play in a game where like I have to consider that I need like addition hate, and I need like regalia hate, and I need like monster destruction. Like I don't like the thought that like, oh, if I need something I'll just side. I've always wanted like the game to be so well balanced that you have to include destruction for all kinds of cards and all kinds of effects, so that they're so relevant in the meta that like it's just required to have everything. Like I love that people main Barrier of Shadows, and I love that people main Hera, just because it makes the game feel more like, you know, this is like everything that the game has to offer right now, and so you have to play against all of it. It's not like you go in thinking like, oh, you know, addition sucks, so I don't have to worry about having addition removal. I think it's really cool that maybe now some of these effects might be problematic if you don't have addition hate in your deck, so it'll be kind of cool to see how that plays out. And then for the second mechanic, it's called Torrent. For anyone who's familiar with Hearthstone, there is the rogue has cards that have combo on it, and so essentially if you use a card and then you use the second card and you kind of form a combo, then the combo effect is like increased because it's the second card you played, and that's kind of what they're going with Torrent. So Torrent will be like, if you play this card, if you've played a certain amount of other cards beforehand, I think it'll always specify the amount. It might just always be one, but I think sometimes it's two. But in case of the Great Holy Ceiling Wave that we see, it says Torrent as you play this card. If you played one or more other cards this turn, it gains the following text. So essentially, if you use the card after using any card, because it's the second card you played that turn, it gets an additional effect. So I think that's actually really cool, because it seems to be really heavy in green at the moment. We might see it in other colors, but with all the featuring spoilers, it was in green. And I think it's really interesting because Rewriting Laws has never been like, it's never been like a bad card, but it's never been like really used either, because if it gets countered, you're kind of locked out of a turn. But it might actually be worth the risk now if you're using like a Torrent deck, because you just activate Rewriting Laws, you draw a card so it replaces itself, you recover your mana so nothing happened, and then the next Torrent card you play will now register that you played a card before this card, and you'll get the additional effect, which I think is really cool. So yeah, I think in general, I think the only kind of confusion there is so far is that Torrent is only on the spells. It doesn't seem to be written on like the creatures. I think the creatures will just say like, if you play an additional card this turn, this card does this. Kind of like how the Featsing Ruler like produces the 1/1 wind elf tokens every time you play a second card every turn. But I don't know why they didn't just specify the creature effects as Torrent. Maybe it's just kind of like how no, but yeah, that's weird because force is on both resonators and creatures. I'm not sure, but essentially it's not too confusing because the creature says it on the effect anyway. But if you see it on a spell, I guess because like you can't add the text on a spell without it doing something because it goes to the graveyard right away, whereas creatures like stay there, so it makes sense for it to just be written that way. I'm not sure, but yeah, so Torrent is kind of like combo from Hearthstone, but I'm really excited with these two kind of additions. I think like a lot of people might be kind of overwhelmed with the like addition to all of the new mechanics coming out, but it's actually really exciting. I feel like it's just gonna be a little bit more for all the new players to learn, and for the most part, it's just kind of like little tweaks to like names or stuff that we already knew, just kind of brushed up. And so it's not too confusing to teach new people. And then for all of us older players, it kind of feels as though we're getting like a bunch of new mechanics and a bunch of things that we were like bothered about with the game are getting like little tweaks and being fixed. So I'm really excited for all these changes and all of the new effects that are coming out. Let me know what you guys think, because I definitely want to know if you guys are for these kind of changes, if you like kind of the direction the game is going for. And yeah, leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll definitely catch you guys next time.